Okay, today is July the 23rd. It is Sunday evening, just after the weekly open. Let's do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. So let's go ahead and start off with our news events today. We have quite a few things this week, so let's go ahead and break that down. First off, a couple of events that we don't really care about, but they're maybe worth mentioning, are going to be the US PMI and the US Consumer Confidence. I don't really care about these too much. What I do care about, though, is on Wednesday we have the US FOMC. On Thursday, we have the US GDP, as well as the European Central Bank Conference. And then on Friday, we have the Bank of Japan Conference. So this is kind of an action-packed week with major events. Who knows what kind of crazy stuff they'll say at these conferences. So hopefully we finally get the volatility that we're looking for to break us from this range, because we've been range-bound for over a month now, and it's been pretty boring. So let's go ahead and get into the boomers. Let's just do a super light rundown on the boomer indexes. I'm not really trading these, and frankly, there isn't really much to say, but I'll just make a couple light remarks on it. So essentially, both the NAS and the S&P are just in absolute ripper mode all year, particularly after the bank scare in March. These indexes have just been absolutely up only. Any bear that tried to fade these things got completely steamrolled. There's been a couple times where I've tried to say that momentum has been lost, and there's definitely signs of momentum being lost, but it really doesn't matter. These things just keep chugging upwards. So I would really continue to lean into kind of buy the dip mode if I was actively trading these. That's pretty much the only thing I would be doing. Calling the top on stuff like this. I've been saying this for months now. Calling the top on assets like these that are just ripping upwards is very foolish. You're just going to add to the fuel for continuation upwards. So TLDR is it's buy the dip on boomers. Let's go ahead and switch over to the market I actually care about. I have a few different things to be covering on Bitcoin here. So let's go ahead and get into it. So where we're at, right, important to address, we're in this, over a month-long range now. We've had attempts to break out to the upside, had attempts to break out to the downside. Everything keeps failing. It's very obvious that 30K is a very agreed-upon price, so we've definitely established a strong true value on the corn over the past month and plus a week, so maybe call it 5 weeks now. Yeah, it's been pretty boring to trade, honestly. You see that in the timeline where people are trading absolutely degenerate on-chain stuff, which is actually something I normally look for to better anticipate that volatility expansion. It's something I've used a lot in the past, is when you see people in our space switching over to trade other markets, or just going down the risk curve and trading more and more degenerate stuff, that normally can be a sign of things to change in the regime. So here's kind of my plans for the week. As you guys know, I've been pretty bullish all year. Had a couple of moments where I've been conservative more recently, just because there's definitely signs that the trend is failing. So I covered that in the last week, so I'm not going to touch on that too much right now. These are the core plays that I'm working with this week, kind of my plans. So I'll run through them really quickly. One is going to be, we've kind of built this lower distribution during, we have a nice weekend comp built up, lower distribution on the larger range. It looks like we're fighting for reacceptance back into it. It's really not that bullish, to be honest. The fact that we're getting smacked down from the, point of controls, and, the Nance VWAP overlaps a lot better with this price action too for smacking it down. So as far as I'm concerned, it's looking pretty rough. But one of my better setups that I do like to run is the kind of reacceptance, which takes us back to the other side of value. So that's kind of be one of the main plays I'm looking for at the beginning of the week. Hopefully, we get kind of like a turnaround Monday for this play to work, where we get kind of bearish, bloody on Monday, which is kind of what it's looking like with equities. They're starting the week off a little bit rough. So if we get a little bit of blood Monday and that can get soaked, and if I can see some, signs that I want to bet on up, then I might take, kind of the intraday long during the week to take Bitcoin back up to its, value area high around, say, 35, 30.5 is probably where it gets smacked down with a VWAP overlap, potentially all the way up towards like 30.7. So the comp hasn't really changed too much. It's gotten a little bit tighter, and it did shift downwards a tiny bit with all this, distribution to the lower side that we've had. But yeah, nothing's really changed with the plans. So play number two is something to potentially look for as well. So that's going to be, that could be off the back of like, an attempt to trade back up into POC again and smack down, or we might just, do it right away. So that'd be acceptance below the comp, and we, could target some obvious lows. So, the single prints on the range are going to be one of the more obvious places to target, potentially down towards, the 28s. When we look at the higher time frame chart, 28K is one of the major support levels below 30K that I'm going to be looking. So if I took a breakdown short, into the mid to lower 28Ks is probably where I'm going to be looking to close that out. So one of the key things to pay attention to, which we'll highlight in a moment, is in order to get bearish next week, I'm really going to be looking for reacceptance back into this lower distribution. So I have a comp drawn basically from the last 4 days, and it looks like, we're accepting above that currently. So if we reaccept back into the weekend comp, then that's going to be one of my triggers to be leaning a lot more bearish at the beginning of the week. The last kind of play on the Bitcoin that I want to talk about this week, if we are able to, hold the comp low and trade up towards the upper ends of value, we could potentially be looking for acceptance outside of the range, which is something that, every bull has been dreaming on for, everybody's been hoping for this, right? And, everybody's been getting mega chopped in the process of trying to bet on this volatility expansion to the upside. So it is still always a possibility that it happens. But it's really not worth worrying about right now, just because there's definitely a couple steps that need to take place before this is really even a viable play. So these are the 3 core things I'm going to be looking for on Bitcoin. I'm obviously going to be playing altcoins off the back of what Bitcoin does. So I think that's pretty much it. For more information, check out the Paragon group with the link below, where I cover everything from how I trade to how you can develop your own style. So let's go ahead and move over to altcoin stuff. Obviously, I need to continue to say this because it's really important. And any altcoin stuff I'm going to do is going to be largely off the back of Bitcoin. The only stuff that I would be trading that wouldn't be related to Bitcoin is if there's just a really high tick, a really high tick, high participation altcoin. I just go PvP scalp on it. That's always in the realm of possibilities if, the opportunity presents itself, basically. So let's go ahead and run through a couple altcoins. I'm not going to run through everything on my list. I'm just going to run through some of the key ones. The coins that don't quite have strong structuring yet, but they look like they have clear bottoms put in. So obviously BNB, it looks like it has a pretty decent bottom put in the near term. Your risk is pretty well defined on betting, to the upside, and you have a lot of, space that it could quickly travel up just with this, kind of air gap up here. So people like to bet against CZ, and everyone wants to FUD Binance and, have Binance collapse and all that kind of stuff. But, I don't really like betting against the kings of the world, right? My personal style of trading is much more, swimming in the wake of the large players and not really trying to impose my will on the market. So definitely get the vibes that BNB could trade up if Bitcoin wants to go up. A couple other coins that are in that same boat are going to be things like Ape. Ape has been just absolutely brutalized all year long. Most coins are, up on the year, and you can look at something like Ape, which is down dramatically on the year. It's got pretty decent bottoming structure, and the risk to reward is well defined on it as well. So if Bitcoin wants to trade up, this is absolutely one that could just do have a mega ripper day where I could see it just do a 40% day, no problem. Couple others to run through. A lot of these we're definitely getting in the realm of shit coins, but I did like the structuring on them. So Mask, same type of argument as all the other ones. Same with Audio, same with Dusk. I hate to have Cardano on my list, but I cannot lie. It has, the setup is there for it to trade upwards. And then the last one that we'll touch on is going to be Gala. So a lot of these coins you guys should be familiar with. At the beginning of the year, I was trading a lot of these pretty actively. Gala, Dusk, Audio. I traded a lot of these coins, and they're, they've been ignored for several months by me, but they're back on the list because, there's valid arguments in place for them. So that's pretty much it for the altcoins. I'm going to say this one last time. All the altcoin stuff that I'm going to do outside of scalping on altcoins is largely going to be just dependent on what my Bitcoin plans, how those shape up. So that's pretty much it for the week. We got decent news events coming in. I've got my Bitcoin plans in order, got my altcoin plans in order. So hopefully we get some volatility. Good luck, everybody.